Okay. Welcome to the Digital Recruiter Mentor Series podcast. My name is Nicole and I'm your host. And today we will be speaking with Anastasia Grace, who will be providing insightful strategies on how to nurture a growth-oriented mindset and overcome mental obstacles with a focus on communication today. Now, Anastasia is skilled in rapid transformations and helps clients to really increase self-awareness, confidence, and emotional intelligence, develop a growth mindset, communication with impact, which is something we're going to really be talking about today, and really become better leaders and create a positive impact in the world. And Anastasia really utilizes advanced techniques such as neuro-linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral coaching, and timeline therapy, and guides clients to really transform limiting beliefs into self-empowerment, reframe past experiences through the timeline therapy, adjust subconscious conditioning and self-sabotaging behavior, and of course, cultivate a success-oriented mindset. So, Anastasia, I'm so excited. You have so much knowledge behind you, and I know that you're going to bring some answers to the questions that we go through for the audience. And if you want to say a quick hi before we just jump straight in, go ahead.
Yes, absolutely excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, and it's a great subject, so let's dive in.
Yeah, let's get in. Okay, so I would love to ask you really, what are some practical techniques for managing stress and anxiety and maintaining a positive and resilient mindset, especially for today, because there's a lot going on in the world. I know we're post-corona, but now there's all different things. So what kind of practical techniques for managing this kind of stress is there?
Yes, you're absolutely right. There's a lot happening. There's always a lot going at us. And the main place to start from is actually understanding that we are constantly bombarded, and that awareness and certainness around the information, around what you hear, is very, very, and understanding that whatever you are telling yourself or whatever you are hearing and whatever you're taking on into your world map, your map of the world, that's how your world is going to be. So if you choose to cut out negative information, your world will be without the negative information. And if you choose to see positive in things, that's how your world is going to be. Your world will turn into the positive kind of. It will do that turnaround. And sometimes, when we try to do that, our realistic or critical mind kicks in and says, well, how can I just completely ignore everything? That's not rational. That's not what an adult person does. The truth is, you can and you should, and you definitely can sort it all out and kind of be aware and not taking it in. Remembering that the root cause of our emotions and our state and our perception of the world and our nervous system and our response to the nervous system, it lies within the mind and lies within the our kind of habitual use of the mind. So when I work with clients, it's more than just going, okay, well, use exercise, use mindfulness, use meditation, and just go for it, you're going to be fine, or do journaling, or keep telling yourself positive affirmations. Those tools are known and available, but the thing is, majority of people can't use them, because during the meditation, what happens is the mind keeps talking and keeps creating more source of stress. And the way to deal with that is going back to the root cause, going back to, okay, so what is my mind? What is it trained to do? What has it learned throughout my life? How did it learn to perceive the world? Has it learned to perceive the world as a dangerous place, as a place that you cannot trust, very untrusting, or on opposite, I have met many people that have a very that light kind of way to move around life, and just like and thinking, oh, okay, it's gonna go work, it's gonna work out, everything works out for me. It's, what are your beliefs, what are your core beliefs, what are your core strategies to deal with everyday life? And when you take time to actually go and discover your mind, discover the root cause, discover what has shaped it, discover what strategies you're already using, because you are already using some kind of strategies to manage your stress and anxiety. Someone, after a tough day, will go and have a nap. Someone will go and have a glass of wine. Someone will go out and socialize and have this kind of download and just release it with friends or family. Some people go and get a professional support through coaches and counselors and talk it through, etc. So you do already have some strategies, and you can go deeper and you can start training your mind to become your friend, to become a tool that you're using, rather than something that is completely uncontrollable and something completely unknown to you, and that talks negatively and you can't do anything about it. So what I've seen in my practice is that people that are dealing, they have the hardest time with managing their thoughts or negative thoughts or anxiety, because anxiety is the fear projecting forward. Anxiety is the fear that somehow I will not cope with something that's going to happen to me in the future, or what I would have to face. So that's what anxiety is. So the people that think that the mind is just the way it is, and it's just, it just keeps talking, and it's just that they just accept it. They have the hardest time managing it. And people understand that the mind is a tool, and you can address it just in the same way you address your body, your nervous systems, your emotions, same way you would address your arm, your hand. You wouldn't allow your hand keep slapping you on the face, right? When you walk, allow our mind to walk, to move around and keep telling us negative things and keep criticizing us, or creating some negative or drama scenarios. Why do you let it do that? Understanding that you can manage your mind just in the same way you manage the rest of the body and the rest of the system that you are kind of carrying around. And what I teach my clients as well is understanding their emotional body, their nervous system, their feeling body, their physical body, and also their mind, and work with that holistically.
Okay, amazing. Wow, that was amazing. So just to pull back a little bit, the first part you spoke about the surroundings negativity. Are you speaking about perhaps if someone is watching the news all the time, or watching social media, or violence on TV, environmental things that could be causing stress to your surroundings, things like that, or the people you're surrounded with, just so I can understand, or the audience can understand, maybe little things that they can reduce doing?
Absolutely. You can be, you potentially can be surrounded by people just that are used to being negative or complaining, or constantly in that drama cycle, or you could be really taking on the news or those negative projections about our economical state, about our climate, about our recent, for example, health crisis, which was not a crisis. Like if we look back at the amount of drama that created, and then the actual facts of how we are dealing with life, we always deal with life. We always have tools. So there's always like this period of adaptation, but then everything evens out. Everything is fine. So there's no need to kind of cultivate and bring more of that drama and stress, and it's like, oh my God, the world is ending. And those messages can come from anywhere. Just notice them. Okay, do I really need that negative message? It could be even your workplace. Depends on every person's personal situation. Some people go into households that are much more have just used to that negative outlook on life.
And you mentioned that a lot of us already have coping techniques for stress, whether it's going out to see a friend, watching a movie, things like that. What about the people that are listening that maybe don't have a positive response to stress? So maybe it's drinking alcohol, but not just one glass. Maybe it's something more negative, just going deep into themselves, sleeping, like oversleeping, not a nap. So for the people listening that have actually tools that are not positive tools, can you maybe share just a few techniques or a few things that they could start on that really will help them manage the stress better? Even one or two things that maybe they can start doing already today.
That's a great question. So when we are using we are using techniques that are actually not positive for us in the long run, that is a self-sabotaging techniques. And again, when in my practice, I go deeper. So by resolving the root cause, you will be able to change the behavior. It's much easier to change the behavior, knowing where is it coming from. And that kind of behavior comes from a part of us which is called saboteur. That's like our psyche is consists of parts, consists of different archetypes, and you behave in different situations differently, and that's due to that kind of internal compartments that we have. Right. At home, you're different. When you're acting as a mom. At work, you're acting as a business person. You take on a different archetype, different set of behaviors, and the set of behaviors that belong to a person who is escaping or suppressing or basically trying to not address it in the self-responsible and accountable way is called a saboteur. So knowing that, who is running your life, who is right now, like got the wheel of your life, you can make a choice. Again, there's no point of telling a person you need to go instead of drinking, go into the nature and sit down and watch the sunset and drop into yourself and meditate and bring up the gratitude exercise. There is no point if that person is running a saboteur programming at the moment. So what is important is to go back to the very beginning and say, okay, do you really want to change? Do you want to have those characteristics of a person who is resilient, who is responsible, who can face the challenges, so who can make a strong decision even if it's uncomfortable in that particular moment? And then the person says yes, then we go, okay, so in order to do that, you gotta act out of your mature self, and mature self takes responsibility for each behavior that they're choosing, because your behavior is your choice. And if you're going to go deeper, then every emotion is your choice as well. Every thought is a choice. And that's when we're already stepping into the place of self-mastery. So that's where you start. And when you make a choice to be responsible and act maturely in the long run, right, then you start taking steps and choosing the strategies that in the long run will help you, instead of, and then sitting down in nature and doing breath exercise and just breathing deeply. You are going to be doing that not because someone told you, not because a coach or mentor or counselor told you, but because it's like, okay, well, now I am acting from the mature self. And that it doesn't want to do it. That is saboteur. That's in, and it will be whispering to you. The saboteur will be like, "Oh, come on, please, let's just go and relax in the bar." And you will always have that conversation going, and no one can leave them. But who are you listen? Which part are you going to listen to?
I love that. It's kind of making that identification of who you kind of are right now and who you want to be, and making that conscious choice, and to know that you are in control of those choices, and then going to do those techniques in a different mindset. I really love that. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Now, there's probably a lot of listeners who are high achievers, working a lot. And what are some of the pitfalls or challenges perhaps that high achievers may face, and how can they avoid them? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening who are working a lot, really others that high achiever, archetype actually.
Yes, high achievers, it's its own type of people. I can absolutely relate to.
Me too. Yeah.
And quite often the high achiever personality or archetype comes with a little bit of guilt, because that person would have to prioritize or would have to make choices in life that in other people's eyes will not be approved of, which is working too much, fixating on something too much, maybe neglecting part of your family or your social circle in order to achieve what you want to achieve. And it comes sometimes with isolation. Sometimes it comes with guilt. Sometimes it can come with, placing too much weight on your shoulders, and it can cause physical problems and emotional problems. Just get a toll on you. Being a perfectionism is something that our society suffers a lot as well, just getting stuck in that, oh, it's got to be perfect, being caught in a cycle of, I cannot move forward until this is perfect, until I get this done, and which can lead to procrastination. And the cycles are tricky, because once you get in a cycle, you can actually get trapped in it and keep looping in that cycle. So it's important to see where and catch yourself as like, okay, I'm overdoing this too much. It's probably time for me to take a step. And of course, self-criticism coming from the place of, I need to achieve so much, and I put so much pressure on myself, and I put such high standards on myself. Then at the same time, that criticism or feeling of not deserving the success and imposter syndrome. It's like, no, this is even if you're recognized, you don't actually able to, you're not able to accept the recognition because of that imposter syndrome, because you might have a completely different perception of self on the inside, rather than how are you perceived on the outside.
Yeah.
Comparison, so those probably are the main ones, being overworked, exhausted, running on your own energy and resources, taking too much on yourself, even other people's responsibilities, comparing yourself, criticizing, having imposter syndrome, being too trapped. And I'm not saying being perfectionist is bad, but being trapped, it gets very difficult for a person to move forward. Those probably are the big ones.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people maybe on the outside would look at it as something positive. Wow, overachiever. But as a person to have this overachievement mentality, it comes, like you said, with lack of sleep, maybe affecting relationships, social life, self-care. So do you think things such as perhaps boundaries, keeping a schedule, implementing self-care and rest, and reducing that hustle mentality, which I think is so common, and just actually having more of a schedule to say, okay, I'm going to finish work by X and spend time with the family? Because I know, especially for these high achievers with families, it can cause a lot of problems in the relationship. I've had it myself, because you just want to get your work done and you're so passionate about what you're doing, and everything just kind of like you're hyper focused. So, and it can come with some really negative, things that happen later down the line. So would you say for someone listening, perhaps putting up some boundaries and becoming self-aware with your work commitments, what are some tips, like just a few things that maybe they could implement today that will help them really, it's okay to be a high achiever, yet I am aware that I need to, switch off my phone by X times, things like that. Is that a good solution?
Yes, absolutely. Those little strategies are great for 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 your everyday life. In order to get there, like start from planning. Start with setting the priorities and planning in the long run, because goals are very, very important, like when they're so close and they're like right here in front of us, and it feels like, okay, I will work a little bit more and then I will achieve and then I will relax. The relaxed bit doesn't come, or it comes in short increments. But if you look at your life in the long run, in the long term, 90, what are you going to regret about when you are at the age of 90 and you don't have any more capacity to work that much, or you really don't need to anymore? So what are you going to regret about? And when you see that, like the whole run, the full run, not just the sprint, it will help you to share your resources and plan your resources in a way that you actually maintain all areas of your life. Because dopamine hits that are coming from achievements, they are short-lived, and then you another a dopamine hit, but there will be a time at the age after 50, after 60, when life, you will naturally start slowing down and your priorities will change. So making sure that you maintain those relationships, you maintain your health through you maintain your social circle through allocating time. And high achievers are usually great at planning. So all you need to do is have a great plan, which is for a few years, then for 1 year, for a quarter, for a month, for a day, for a week, and allocate those slots for your family, for your kids, for your loved ones. My calendar is fully blocked out. There is always a time absolutely separate for my partner, and and sometimes it feels like, oh my God, I can't leave for the weekend. It's not
Yeah.
possible. It's just, it's there in the calendar and that's it. It means
Amazing. I love that. I really love it. So this is a bit of a cue, I think, for taking some action right now. When you finish listening to this, I really would love you to get out your diary and pop in 3 different things in there. One, self-care, one, family, or social, and one, what's the last one we can get them to schedule in? Self-care, family, and
must. Your love
love.
life has there, otherwise.
Yeah, and even if people listening don't have a love life, but they want to put some time into that, whether it's going visiting somewhere where there's other people, things like that. So that is your action. Amazing, love it. Now for the next question, I would love to we want to focus a little bit on communication. So how can they build better relationships with colleagues, online, offline, clients, and navigate those difficult conversations, conflicts in a more constructive way, whether it's a client, maybe there's a problem and via email or on the phone? What is, how can they navigate that in a simple way without feeling threatened?
Yeah, communication is extremely important. And now that, sometimes in our online communication, we can even lose kind of that those aspects of communication that happen face to face, right?
Mm-hmm.
One message can be read absolutely differently, and
Yeah.
it's all about how you encoding the message and how you also decoding the message. So making sure that when you are writing, with writing it's easy, right? With writing it's you write and then you try to reread it a few times, just seeing how can it land in other person's listening, which
Mm-hmm.
way it perceived. And the best way to improve your communication skills is to understand that people do not think like you, they do not hear things like you, and they don't understand things like you. It's just we are shaped in a way through our life that all filters are different. And what helps like our communication as a society having some standards, for example, in a business language is easy because there's a business language, there are norms around communication in
Mm-hmm.
in business. And in personal communications, in one-on-one, the most important skills you can ever master is active listening, is listening from the place of I don't know what's going to be said right now, and I'm not going to judge. I will not prejudge it, and I will try to not filter it out as much as I possibly can. And training yourself active listening starts with small increments, because if you watch yourself listening, I will bet you 100% what you're doing at that moment, you're already preparing the answer, preparing. In your case, it's probably going to be the preparing the next question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You person or a person's listening, going like, oh well, that's bullshit, or oh here there's this was that was a mistake. That's not really correct, and there's constant assessment happening,
Yeah.
and that actually what happens is you actually miss out on to hear what's being said. And it's a habit, it's something that you can train yourself on, to stop talking inside your head at the same time while you're listening. This way you will be able to observe better, you will be able to understand and actually hear a person, not just listen but actually hear.
Yeah.
Second, a kind of a second strategy which works great is telling a person what you heard. So how would you know that what you heard is exactly what's being said? And it's a little bit naive to think that what you heard is exactly what a person said. Just because within like 11 billion pieces of information, our brain is only able to maintain 7 pieces of information. Everything else, it just blocks out when and it could be so many things that could be like blocked out, right? And I'm sure men listening here will completely relate to this. As soon as their partner, wife starts sounding like their mother, they block out the whole thing. They just like, no, I can't hear anything, zero, nothing's coming through. So, and that's how it happens in real life as well, if we in any communication. So, just stepping into that active listening, then repeating what has been said, managing your emotions when this subject is not easy, is not it's not light, for example, conversation, making sure you have this self-management and you stay neutral, you stay controlled, you still stay easy and pleasant, and ask open-ended questions in order to make sure that you understand correctly and that subject is exactly what you're talking about. It's exactly what you're discussing.
Yeah, I love that. So it really is a skill, active listening. And I think we're so used to reactiveness. It's just something that just everything is so fast these days as well. We're always reacting, whether it's even just on social media, liking things. It's just this society we're in, always reacting to situations. So yeah, the active listening is just stepping back and really listening actively, as it says. So maybe another activity is for the next conversation you have for the listeners, practice it, because you can listen now to this podcast and then kind of forget about it. But if you really consciously decide right now, my next conversation, whether it's with someone in business, my partner, my friend, whoever, try active listening, and now like write it down. That is your next task, because I think sometimes we can listen to these kind of shows and then just you forget about it, right? If it's not something that's a habit. So yeah, I'm going to do it too. I do it anyway in my coaching, but sometimes everyone needs to be reminded, whether you're a coach as well, we're all human, right? So I know that when my husband left today, I was just like, yeah, I have my podcast. Bye. I wasn't listening to anything he was saying, right? So it's that active listening. Amazing. I really, really love that. So now, how can they become more confident in communicating at work to advance their career? Because maybe someone's listening feeling not so confident and they do want to advance their career. How can they become a little bit more confident in themselves and their skills?
Mm-hmm. Great question. Again, many people doubt themselves, and many people kind of criticize themselves internally to the point where it becomes difficult to express that confidence outwards. So again, in every question or every problem, I would go back to the very beginning. So why you're not feeling confident? Where you're not feeling confident, when you're not feeling confident, with who you're not feeling confident. Because I'm sure there are situations and people that you are confident with. Situation, and maybe some certain skills that you possess that when you're doing performing that task, you're so confident, it's it's no brainer. Of course I can do it. So having this differentiation, not labeling yourself as I'm not confident in communicating, and then believing that story and then running with that story, just go back. It's like, well, there are situations where I am confident, like you speak with certain people or with friends, with certain situations when you're feeling absolutely just fine. How can you translate that, how can you, like in NLP, it's called modeling, right? Or we see per confident person, you model that behavior that's all up to the physical gestures. You model that state of being, emotional state, your your personality state, your self, the way self feels, the mindset, the body, gestures, tone. You just model it and you project it in those communications where it's important. So dive deep into what specifically makes you so unconfident, or not fully present in those situations. Is it the person? Is it the way they address you? Is that a situation? Do you need to attain some certain skills? Do you need to portray certain skills so you can feel more confident? Take it as a challenge. Take it as something you can solve, because everything is solvable. Everything in our is solvable. And not go the main thing is not going like labeling something and giving up, or just like, well, this is the way I am, so that's the difference between growth mindset and the fixed mindset, right? Is this is the way I am, this is too hard, I'm just gonna bail out. Or, okay, this is a challenge. How can I solve this? I need to communicate in this situation, plan it, think through it, consider the outcome that you want to get, make sure you know the outcome, be ready for the negotiations, be ready to manage your emotions, your internal state. It's okay to feel nervous. It's okay to feel trembly. It's okay to feel not, you're a bit wobbly. That's absolutely fine. The main thing is that you're gonna get through the process, and you'll get through it if you choose to.
Yeah, I love it. It's a challenge. And I really loved how you said to be aware of when you are in a confident state of mind. What are you feeling? What are you doing? What are you wearing? How are you speaking? All those kind of characteristics, and then take that and transition that into the areas, and also understand, right, why am I not feeling confident in this conversation? Like, how can I take my confident self and pop it here? Like you said, it's a growth mindset. It can be challenging, but challenges create growth. So it's exciting, right? And everyone has the skills and capability to do it. Just need to be aware and want to change, right? And want to be confident in that situation and not kind of run away from it, because then we can't change. But yeah, that's great. Just another really awesome activity for everyone. So how can we really increase, or how can they increase clarity in expectations and objectives as a team? So people who perhaps work in a team environment, things like that. How can we increase the clarity if things are not feeling clear?
Yes, working in a team is extremely important. We're all social beings. We work as team in the workplace. We work as a team at home, and communication brings clarity. That's the simplest way to express it, is like, does that communication exist in that place right now, or is it based on assumptions or lack of communication, or kind of not expressed goals, not expressed strategies? So with the team, what's important is to have a facilitator, to have a team leader, a person who will not necessarily be like in charge of everything and everyone, but facilitate the structure, because the team communication requires structure. Right? It requires a certain steps to plan, certain steps to define those goals and objectives, certain steps to make sure that everyone understood those goals and objectives, and allocate time of execution or deadlines, milestones. So that again, bringing the clarity, making sure there is no conflict, there's no doubling up or some kind of a friction, making sure that the flow in the team is uninterrupted. And this all can be done using tools and technology, and there's plenty of now digital tools that allow us to break down the tasks and set up the deadline, set up people responsible, making sure that people that are responsible, they have the skills to achieve it, and support that needs to be provided will be provided. So understanding that navigating the team, it's more complex. So as it's a complex structure, so it requires certain steps of navigation, and the team leader needs to put that in place. That's such a popularity of collaborative work tools at the moment, because another important one is transparency. What I would add is transparency will bring that level of trust and clarity that is required in the team.
Okay, yeah, I actually really love the team lead, because I think a lot of the miscommunication and friction and frustration comes from lack of clarity and lack of someone kind of guiding and opening up a more open, transparent communication, right? So yeah, having that team lead to dedicate time to really pushing the communication, everyone knows their role, where they stand, who is giving the tasks, things like that, can totally just diminish that frustration level and increase communication, and of course better productivity, right? Because everyone is happy. So that's a really, really great point to point out. So if you are in a team, perhaps think about, maybe I need a team lead, maybe I need a project management tool system, right? So everyone understands what everyone is doing, and there's no she said that, I said that kind of thing, which causes a little bit of frustrations. Amazing. Well, one more question. How can we address the negative impact on the team morale and productivity caused by miscommunication, which happens, it really does, in all different lines of work, right? But how can we really address it?
The most important thing in the already existing conflict is to solve it right away. Hoping that somehow it will be solved by itself if we just give it time, and somehow it will all smooth itself out. Usually does not work, because it still stays, it still lingers on the background, and people or the damage that has been done is still there. So the first step one is to address a conflict, again, in a very neutral and safe way, understanding why you're doing it. So do you do it to resolve it, to remove conflict and bring it back again to kind of neutrality, positivity, and the flow in the team, not a kind of punish or find the person who's at fault. That is the easiest part, right? And the difficult part is restoring the trust back to where people feel safe. So maintaining a safe environment for people to make mistakes, and resolve it through the communication, understanding that behind every job role, or the person, there's a human being, and that's probably not fully we don't maybe not fully see that human being with all their emotional components at workplace. So we tend to be a little bit more strict and on the go and demanding at the workplace. So having that having that clarity, having that communication, having that resolution, and once that's closed, it's closed. It's it's forgiven, it's resolved, and it goes back to zero, as in like the tension,
Yeah.
or the once the damage has been eliminated. We got to make sure that we start the relationship from zero again, so it's a clean slate, and maybe placing some more policies or instructions or agreements in place that will indicate that the learnings, to show the learnings from that conflict, and they're not getting repeated. It all depends. The communication in the team relies a lot on the leader. It relies a lot on the emotional intelligence and that abilities to mentor, abilities to coach, to guide the team in a way that is safe and productive.
Yeah, even perhaps the team lead having some leadership skills is a really, really core part of being able to maintain that safe, happy environment. So if someone listening is a team lead, maybe doing a course on leadership, some mentoring and things like that to build the strength up of leading a team, because once you have those skills, it's so much easier, like what you're sharing exactly now, of putting things in place, not holding a grudge, starting from zero, things like that, tools that they can use in leading the team, right, into a really positive environment. Yeah, amazing. I think there was so much value in all of this today. Anastasia, thank you so much. The listeners, you have some actionable steps like scheduling in your self-care, your love, your relationships. What else did we cover that they need to do? There was one more, right? The active listening. Active listening.
Yeah, practice listening, how they were listening.
Yeah. So I'm sure that they got so much value. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much for being here, Anastasia, on the Digital Recruiter Mentor Series. And until next time, stay tuned. Bye for now.
Bye.
Again.